Welcome back to the Utah Museum of Contemporary Art. My name is Golda, and we are in our education studio for week 2 of Art for the month of Ramadan. Today we are going to create a nighttime watercolor. So you need a cup of water, some watercolor paints, a few brushes, tape if you have it, and some salt. Any kind of salt works, just the kind that you find in your kitchen, at home. We found that thicker salt, like coarse or fine crystal salt, works the best. All right, so because we want to make all of the colors really blend together, just like the sky looks like at sunset, we are going to wet our paper first. So I'm dipping my brush in some water, and I'm just going to go over the entire piece of paper with some of that water. Any kind of brush works, but thicker bristled brushes are best for blending. Now that I have some water on my paper, all of the color is going to spread a lot easier. I'm going to begin at the top of my paper and work my way down, and begin with this dark blue. So I'm mixing quite a bit of water into it so that the color is a little lighter and I can build over it. And because we're using salt to kind of change the texture, again, we talked about texture last time with our lunar artwork. We want to put the salt on while the paint is still wet, so we have to work kind of quickly. Now that I have my blue on, I'm going to create kind of an ombre. So the top is a deeper color, and then it works its way down, becoming lighter and lighter. So now I'll use less water in my paint palette, and I'll start at the top with that deeper blue. So most of what's on my paintbrush is the paint instead of just the water. Now that I have that dark enough, I'll add a little bit more water and create a lighter color as I go down. You can choose to add whatever details you want to. This is called the composition. So in my composition, I'm choosing to include a grassy field and the sun as it sets just on the horizon. So now I'll take some yellow, and that will be the color of the sun as the sunlight is starting to become dimmer. Making sure I'm using enough water. And then for the sliver of the sun that you can see just over the field, I'm going to use a combination of orange and red. And I'll create a half circle on my page. Because I already had water and liquid on my piece of paper, it's really going to spread and bleed through, which is what I want. If you want more crisp lines, you'll want to use less water so that it doesn't all blend together. Now to connect the land and sky so that I don't create green with the yellow sunlight and the blue sky, I'm going to use some purple. And I want like a light lavender color, so I'm going to add plenty of water. And I'm deciding to add a little bit more sun rays through the bottom of my watercolor. And then really blend it out near the top. Now the final piece at the bottom, I'm going to add the grassy field. So I'll take the green, add it to the bottom. When the sun goes down, we call that dusk. And dusk and dawn, or when the sun comes up, are really important during Ramadan because those are the time markers or times that Muslims will begin or end their fast. So during the day, they'll refrain or avoid eating and drinking, and then when the sun goes down, they can have a meal together. They also begin their days having a meal, again with family or friends, that is nutritious so that it gets them through the entire day. And our friends at the Emerald Project explained that a little bit earlier. Shema and Sam told us about how they fast. All right, now that I have the field done, I'll add a few texture details like grass. Then I'm going to get a clean brush, my thickest brush, and make sure everything is blended with water. My orange was the best at spreading, so I'm going to kind of spread that out a little bit more so that it's not all so concentrated in the center of my page. And remember, you can't make any mistakes in art. It's all just a big experiment, and if you make some messes or want to change something, that's good. You can do that. Contemporary art is all about experimenting and changing things as you go. And if your work of art doesn't look like your friends when you're finished, that's okay too. They should all be unique and different. All right, I think it's blended well enough. I'm going to add a little bit more water near the top where it started to dry a little bit. And this is the part where we're going to add the salt. So the salt is going to react with the water and leave a new texture. And I'm going to focus mine on the top so that it looks like the stars starting to come out in the sky. I take my salt, I'm going to put some in my hand so I can control it better. And just sprinkle a little bit. You don't want too much. And I'm already starting to see it react and kind of lighten at the parts where the salt touches the paper. Okay, now all that's left is to wait for your paper to dry. I taped down the border on my work so that it would have a little frame on the paper itself, and I'll wait till it's completely dry to take off this tape. Once I do, I'll have a nice crisp edge line on each of the 4 sides. Then when it's completely dry, I'll kind of shake off and brush the salt so that all I have is the imprint that it left and the reaction. So this is week 2 of Art for the Month of Ramadan. Thank you so much for watercoloring with me today, and we'll see you next week.